Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into my message, which is the title of my message is Connection with People. So the great news is you should know in life is that we are never meant to be alone. We are meant to be in connection with people. We are meant to connect with others. So I want us to take some time today, right, to learn how to connect with people better. How to be a better friend, how to be a better teammate. Please don't look at your neighbor. How to be a better spouse, a better partner, how to make friends and to keep those relationships in our life. So, and I want us to go through today putting the spotlight on ourselves, on how I can be better, on how I can change. Not on your neighbor, okay? So I want you to go through today with me not looking at your friend that's sitting beside you, but to look at yourself. Is that all right? So it's okay if you feel a little uncomfortable at some of the points, feel a little exposed, a little called out, if you want to put it that way. It's okay if you have shifty eyes. At some points you're shuffling feet, you're very nervous, like, that is me, oh no. It's okay. All right? And if you really feel that way, just laugh at yourself. Just laugh it off, laugh at yourself. Is that okay? So I want you to know that it's good to be vulnerable, like what we learned last week, right? It's good to be open because that's the way that we change and we be better. So let's start off by saying this. I want to start by saying that you don't have to be an extrovert to be good at connecting with people. So all the introverts like, oof. And also, just because you are an extrovert doesn't make you good at connecting with people. Right? So it's got nothing to do with personality per se about connecting with people, but it's got everything to do with our skills in connecting with others. And of course, at the same time, we'll look into the Bible, how Jesus, our master communicator, right? Our all-time favorite role model, how he connects with other people. And there are so many accounts, so many conversations in the Bible, but today we will look at this particular story about Jesus and the woman at the well. So this is a unique story because it is the longest recorded conversation anyone ever had with Jesus. Even longer than his conversation with his disciples. So what I love about this story is about how Jesus is so awesome, but it's also about how perceptive this woman is in her reply and in her conversation with Jesus, which we can really learn from. So we're going to look at this story in John chapter 4, verse 4 to 30. It's a very long story, so I want you to buckle your seatbelt and we're going to dive into the story, okay? So John 4:30, it says, So Jesus left the Judean countryside and went back to Galilee. To get there, he had to pass through Samaria, and he came into Sychar, a Samaritan village that bordered the field Jacob had given his son Joseph. Jacob's well was still there. Jesus was worn out by the trip. He sat down at the well. It was noontime. And so, after that, a woman, a Samaritan, came to draw water. And Jesus started a conversation with her. Jesus said, Would you give me a drink of water? His disciples had gone to the village to buy food for lunch. The Samaritan woman, taken aback, asked Jesus, How could you, a Jew, asking me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? Because Jews in those days won't be caught dead talking to Samaritans. So Samaritans were seen, if you don't know, Samaritans were seen as outcasts. They are a race of people whom the Jews despised and avoided, going as far as not to share or touch anything that a Samaritan has touched, because they feel that they consider them as a half Jew and a half not Jew. So continue the story. So Jesus answered, Jesus answered, if you knew the generosity of God and who I am, you would be asking me for a drink, and I will give you fresh living water. And then this woman is a little confused. She said, "Sir, I noticed that you don't even have a bucket to draw water. And this well is so deep. How are you going to get this supposedly living water, right? Are you a better man than our ancestor Jacob, who dug this well and drank from it, he and his sons and livestock, and passed it down to us?" And then Jesus continued. He says, "Everyone who drinks this water will get thirsty again and again." Sounds so mysterious. "Anyone who drinks the water that I give will never thirst, not ever again. The water I give will be an artisan spring within gushing fountains of endless life." And then the woman said, "Sir, please give me this water so I won't ever get thirsty again and won't ever have to come back to this well." And then he said, "Go call your husband and then come back." "I have no husband," she said. "That's nicely put. I have no husband because you've had 5 husbands. And the man you're living with now isn't even your husband. You spoke the truth there, sure enough." And then the woman replied, "Oh, so you're a prophet. Well, tell me this. Our ancestors worship God at this mountain, but you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place for worship, right?" And then Jesus replied, "Believe me, women, the time is coming when you Samaritans will worship the Father neither here at this mountain nor there in Jerusalem. You worship guessing in the dark. We Jews worship in the clear light of day. God's way of salvation is made available through the Jews, but the time is coming, it has in fact come, when what you've called will not matter. Where you go to worship will not matter. It is who you are, the way you live, that counts before God." And then Jesus go on, your worship must engage your spirit in the pursuit of truth. That's the kind of people the Father is out looking for. Those who are simply and honestly themselves before Him in their worship. God is sure being itself, spirit. Those who worship Him must do it out of their very being, their spirits, their true selves in adoration. And then the woman said, "I don't know about that, but I do know that the Messiah is coming, and when He arrives, we'll get the whole story." And Jesus said, "I am He," which I find it so powerful because basically He reveals who He is to the woman. You don't have to wait any longer or look any further. And then just then His disciples came back. They were shocked. They couldn't believe that He was talking with that kind of a woman. No one said what they were all thinking, but their faces showed it. And the woman took the hint and left, which is sad, okay? In her confusion, she left her water pot. Back in the village, she told the people, "Come see a man who knew all about the things I do, who knows me inside and out. Do you think this could be the Messiah?" And they went out to see for themselves. Well, the rest of the story is, the great news is that many of the Samaritans from the village actually committed their lives and got to know Jesus because of the woman's story and account. And Jesus even stayed in the town for 2 more days. And a lot more people entrusted their lives to Jesus when they heard what He's got to say. So you can say that Jesus not only connected with this woman, right? But He also connected to the whole village and the whole town. So with that, I want to give you 3 ways in which we can connect with people better. And along the way, we will draw some of these from the story that we read earlier on. Okay, ready? So, point number 1, the first way that you can connect with people better is, if you want to connect with people better, the first way is you got to listen actively. In other words, listen well. So, can I start this point 1, with a pun? So, if you ever get locked out of the house, right, what should you do? Sorry? Locksmith. Okay, you should talk to your lock calmly. Why? Because communication, very good, because communication is key. So if you ever get locked out of the house, talk to your lock calmly and they will open for you. Okay, so communications, conversations, they are all fundamental building blocks of friendship and relationship in connecting with people, right? But the thing we need to know is that to communicate effectively, we got to listen actively. You'll be surprised to know this, that just because you hear doesn't mean you've listened. Just because you score an A for your language doesn't make you a good listener too. So Harvard Business Review, right, they make a comment about listening, which I find it so funny. They say that people's appraisal of their listening ability is much like their assessment of their driving skills. In that majority of adults think that they are above average when actually they are really not. So the chances are we have room to improve about our listening abilities, listening well to one another. So how to listen better, right? How to listen better? The key to listening better is seeking to understand. You're listening to understand. I know it sounds very simple, but you got to really listen carefully. Listening, seeking to understand. So the most basic and straightforward example I can give you is you are not listening if you are interrupting before someone can finish sharing. Or you catch yourself forming sentences before the person can finish saying something. You are not listening if you are eagerly offering advices, solutions, thoughts, and talking for a good 30 minutes when your friend hasn't begun sharing with you for barely 1 minute. So if you catch yourself talking for too long, a good chance is that you are probably not listening. So some tips on how can we listen better then, right? So I'm going to give you a few tips that I feel is very helpful. Number one is to make eye contact and give others your attention. So making eye contact is the best way to be present with the person that you're talking to. So for all the youth here, when someone is talking to you, look at the person in the eye. Don't look at the shadow behind them, okay? So when you are talking to someone, look them in the eye. Why are you avoiding my, my eye contact here? So we're going to practice this. So I want you to look at your friend beside you. Look at them eye to eye. Don't be awkward. Don't shift away. Look at them. Tell them, say, I see you. I can hear you. And I really appreciate you. Okay, we need more practice there, okay? But we can do that after this. So, okay, I have got to admit, right? I can be really bad at this most of the time. My sister often questioned me. She always asks me, are you listening to me or not? I am talking to you. I feel that you are not here. Where are you? She always asks me, where are you, sis? Where are you? So, because she will be sharing with me something interesting, right? That she is watching or learning. For example, she will tell me about Attack on Titans. And my mind will pick up on one thing she shared, like one thing, like loyalty, for example, commitment, and teamwork, right? And then my mind will wander off to think about some philosophy about loyalty. It will make connection with the podcast I've listened earlier this morning about relationship or about friendship and teamwork. And then before she can finish a sentence, I'm really starting to type down some notes on my phone that is related to the topic that I'm thinking about. And then she'll be like, sis, hello. All right, so the thing is, be present with people. And the one very good way of being present is to give eye contact. Look at the person that you're talking to. Okay, that's number one. Number two is listen with your eyes. Oh, listen with your eyes. So it's estimated that 80% of what people communicate, 80%, is not just with words, but also with non-verbal cues. For example, their facial expressions, how they look, perspiration, how much they perspire. So they may tell you, no, it's okay, it's quite cooling here. But you can observe that they are perspiring like crazy. Probably not, okay? Probably not. Gestures, posture, or their tone. And an interesting thing is that some people actually speak faster when they are nervous. Some people will speak slower when they are nervous. So everybody is a bit different, right? So don't just listen to what people say, listen to how they say. And sometimes without words, you can sometimes tell something is bothering your friend or something is bothering your teammate. Okay? Next one is to show validation. So acknowledge what you are understanding. For example, if someone is talking to you, look at them, reply to them. Say, hey, I understand you feel this way. I can see why you feel this way. I can hear that you are feeling this way. This makes sense. This gives them validation that, hey, you are listening to them. Okay, next one is to ask open-ended questions. To be curious. And this is like my most important tip. You got to be curious. So a lot of people have this misconception that good listening is being silent when the other person is talking. The answer is yes and no. Yes, you should be quiet if you're talking for a good 30 minutes. Probably it's a good time to stop talking. But it's no, because good listeners are those who ask questions. So when you ask questions, it tells me that you not only heard what I've said, but that you understand what I'm saying so well that you want more information from me. So when you ask questions, you are seeking to understand my point of view. And you are open to having your own thinking, own assumptions, own conclusions challenged. So I need you to hear this, right? Seeking to understand means that you are open to have your thinking, assumptions, conclusions challenged. In other words, really seeking to understand means that you're okay to acknowledge I can be wrong, that I may be wrong about this. The awesome thing about listening actively, right, is not only do you understand and connect better with somebody else, but if you really actively listen to somebody, you can cause the other person and yourself to see the issue in a new light. Because you'll be asking questions, and the person will be replying you, and then both of you will come to this place where you see this thing in a different way. So a Harvard Business Review found that a lot of people think being a good listener is being a sponge, where you just absorb everything that the person is saying, and you can regurgitate everything. It's like exams like that. Oh my goodness. It's like you absorb everything, and then you just regurgitate everything this person is saying. But no, good listeners are actually more like a trampoline, where they are someone you can bounce ideas off with. You know, like a trampoline? They clarify your thinking, they energize you, they are actively supporting you and adding to you and amplifying you. That is good listening, where you are it is like a trampoline. In contrast, poor listeners are competitive, and they are an excellent preacher, debater, and lawyer in conversations. So the internal dialogue, okay, of a person who is a poor listener goes like this. In their mind, they'll be thinking, okay, my friends tell me that they are angry with me because of dash. Then immediately they jump to a debater mode, right? Disagree because point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Evidence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. End of conversation equals to, I'm not interested to hear this thing anymore from this person. So they enter into conversation like a debate like that. But you need to know that conversations are not meant to be a debate. You're not meant to win an argument and lose the person. All right? So maybe some of you might ask, why should we ask questions and be curious? Does asking questions, being curious, really help me to be a better listener? Well, the answer is yes. Okay, because there is a gap between what you understand and what someone else is hearing. Okay, let me say again. There is a gap between what you are understanding and what someone else is hearing. So there's a gap between what you think you are hearing versus what the person is trying to say. So in 1990, a Stanford University graduate student in psychology, this person named Elizabeth Newton, she studied a simple game in which she assigned people with two roles, a tapper and a listener. And each tapper was asked to pick a well-known and common song, and they have to basically just tap out the rhythm of the song. And then the listener's job was to guess the song. So she did this experiment to prove that there is a gap. You think about something versus, the person understanding you. So that is why it's important to ask questions to find out what the person is actually saying. Okay, but to do that, to prove a point, right, we're going to do an experiment. So I'm going to tap out a song, a common song, and you're going to guess. So I can't really give out stuff here. So if you got it correct, please go head to the counter to get some sweets after this. Okay? So I'm going to tap a song. Okay, two songs. Okay, first one. You're going to guess. You shout out the answer if you know. Okay, Okay, wait, let me try. Okay, I'm trying not to sing the song, okay? Okay, one more time. Nobody? What? No, not at all? Love yourself? Oh, no. Is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. Easy one. Yeah, happy birthday. Good job. Okay, awesome. So basically, some of you will get it correct, but some of you would, you kind of need to, can I have some clue here? Can I have some hint, right? You have to ask questions to see what is the melody line that's in my head. Correct? So there is a gap. That is why it's important to be curious. It's important to ask questions. What you think you know might not be correct, is what I'm saying. So let me bring us back to the story of Jesus and the women at the well. So Jesus' conversation with this woman began with a simple question. Would you give me a drink, right? And what's incredible is not only is Jesus a really good listener, the woman is an amazing listener. You can see that their conversation, right, is like a trampoline. Every time the woman did not fully understand what Jesus is saying, she would ask questions. She'll ask, how are you going to get this living water? You don't even have a bucket. How are you going to draw water? Our ancestors worship God at this mountain. But is it true that the Jews, the only place to worship is in Jerusalem? So she asks a lot of questions every time she hit a point where she don't understand what Jesus is saying. And what I'm so blown away by is this woman seemed to be able to see through Jesus' parable. She can tell that Jesus is trying to say something. When a lot of people that Jesus talked to, right, have no idea that he's trying to drop some gems along their way. So it's interesting because if you don't know this, just one chapter before this story, Jesus was talking to this other guy called Nicodemus. He's a member of the ruling council. He's educated. He is a respected leader, but he don't understand what Jesus is talking about. He's no idea. He's not open to. He's got no understanding of the significance of what Jesus is saying. So you can be educated, but you can be not listening. Is the same. Yeah. So it can happen to all of us too. So number one is listen well. Okay. Number two is appreciate others. Appreciate others. If we want to connect with people, we need to appreciate people. To put it simply, people want to know that you care. So one of the reasons Jesus' conversation with the woman is so amazing is the fact that Jesus cared. So in the beginning of the story we read, right? Jesus left the Judean countryside, went back to Galilee. To get there, he had to pass through Samaria. So the question is, did Jesus have to pass through Samaria to get to Galilee? The answer is no, he don't have to. Remember what we said earlier, that Jews don't talk to Samaritans, right? Most Jews actually take another way to get to Galilee. This tells me that Jesus was intentional about meeting the women and meeting the people in Samaria. For Jesus to speak with the woman at the well says a lot about Jesus. Because in those times, men rarely spoke to women as equals. Because society was patriarchal, there was not just an apparent gender barrier, but also a religious and racial one. Because Jesus is a Jew, the woman is a Samaritan. And to add on, most women would come early in the morning or late in the evening to draw water. Not at noontime, when the sun is like blazing hot. And women typically drew water in groups for safety, for social gatherings. So for this woman to come alone to the well at noontime tells us that she was probably ostracized or had isolated herself from other people out of shame of some kind. But yet Jesus saw past her status, saw past her background, the barriers, and connected with this woman. So let me say this, appreciating people, genuinely caring for people is intentional. If you want to connect with people, you can't be lazy. You can't be lazy. It's not always convenient and easy to do that. So some tips on how to appreciate other people better. First one is create points of connection with people. Learn to create points of connection with people. So I say create because you got to be intentional. You got to make it happen. So it can be as simple as saying hi when you see someone in person or on Zoom or on a phone call. Saying hello is about being polite, but it is also the simplest way to tell people, I see you. Rather than walk past them, I don't see you at all. So for all the youth, I want to encourage you to not just say hi to your friends, but also to someone that you are not very familiar with. For example, if you come to church, you see someone, you don't know them at all, but you make eye contact with the person, say hello, say hi to them. For example, say hi to an adult whom you see walking through the door. Say hi to a new friend whom you bump into in the washroom, for example. So other ways of making connection with people, asking people how's their day. Asking them a question. Remembering the name of the person that you're meeting for the first time. If you're trying to make connection with a new friend, remember their name. That's a good way to connect with people. And one more is always say thank you. Always say thank you. So last week we talked about gratitude, right? So if someone was kind to you, appreciate them and say thank you. If someone got you a card, a gift, or even just a note, a text, say thank you in person and then text them after to say that you really appreciate it. So all the youth, okay, I want you to do this. Write it down in your notebook. I want you to do this as a habit of appreciating people, which is if someone gives you something, look at them in their eye and tell them, say, thank you so much. Go home, drop them a text, say, hi, so-and-so, thank you for thinking about me, and express why you're appreciating them. Can you do this? All the youth can, right? Okay, why am I saying this is because I want you to don't be lazy, to don't be forgetful. Most of you are not bad people. Where you go, I don't like this. Okay, I don't know about that, all right? But most of you are not bad people, but you're lazy, you're forgetful. After you receive the gift, 2 days later, how come I got this gift from somewhere? Who is it from? Don't be forgetful with your appreciation and gratitude. So as I'm saying this, if you remember someone that you forgot to thank, please write it down right now. Write it down. Write the person's name big and clear. And after this, text them, okay? So if someone else's life or story inspired you, touched you, appreciate them. Tell them, text them, say, hey, what you shared today really inspired me. Thank you for sharing your life. Thank you for your life. Thank you for you. And that really inspires me. Tell them, tell people that you appreciate them. So let's do better at making people feel seen and making people feel appreciated. And I love the verse in Psalms 100, right? It says this, that enter with the password, thank you. So appreciating God, appreciating people is the password, is the key that you need to connect with people. So don't forget, appreciation is powerful. Next one is to match their energy. Okay, match their energy. If someone is happy, excited, sharing good news, be happy for them. Cheer them on, celebrate them, post about them, talk about them. Yay, laugh with them. If your team IC or your team leader, right, is gathering everybody and they're trying to inspire your team, inspire you, be enthusiastic. Match your energy. Elevate your energy level. If you need external help, drink a can of Coke. Eat some sweets if you have to. Match people's energy because that is the way you connect with your team, with people, with new friends, with one another. So maybe you're out, for example, you're out with a friend, and this person is so excited to play sports, but you don't like sports. Maybe you hate them because you always get hit by the basketball somehow. And I know of people like that. Like the basketball just somehow finds its way to the person. So I always use this analogy of sports, right? Because someone ever tell me that they don't like our zone because we always play sports. So matching their energy means that you are excited about the things that they are excited about. If they are like, yay, you will go, yay, basketball. I don't like basketball, but yay. I hate getting hit, but yay. Okay, so you don't care about ball games, but you care about people. Right? So conversely, if someone is hurting, somebody is healing, then be gentle, be patient, provide support, provide space. So I love this verse that sums it up, which is Romans 12:14 says, laugh with your happy friends when they're happy. Share tears when they're down. Essentially, it's the same thing. Care for people, match people's energy. Got it? Next one. Next tip is respect and consideration. How to appreciate people? Respect people, be considerate. This is my most important tip. I leave the most important one to the last one so you can remember. So you want to connect with people deeper, you want to keep those relationships in your life, then have respect and consideration. So the foundation of any friendship and relationship is trust, right? But it's also respect. The closer you are with someone, the longer you've known somebody, the better you've known somebody, the more care, attention, respect, and consideration you got to have for the person. Because the fastest way for a relationship to sour is contempt, is disrespecting the person. To treat the person as though they are worthless, of no value, of no importance. That's how marriages fall apart. That's how friendships, relationships, distance. So what is respect, right? So I love this quote from this renowned clinical psychologist, relationship coach, TED Talk speaker. She puts it very well. She is Heidi Schleifer. Okay, yes. So she said this, respect is the capacity to honor the space between us. It's to honor the space between us. Is to treat somebody extraordinarily. So how to respect and to be considerate to others? It's all about how you treat someone, and there are so many ways of how to treat someone well. but I'm going to give you a few, okay? So first one is, if you do something wrong, admit and apologize. Don't find excuses. It's very simple, but not a lot of people do it though. So put it on your notebook, do I do this? Okay? So if you make a mistake, never say, we are friends, right? We are CG mates, right? We are siblings, right? Brother, bro. Your friend will be like, bruh. Okay, so don't just say, okay, favorite phrase people always say, I'm joking, right? I don't mean it, right? So don't say that. Just say, hey, I'm sorry if what I said hurt you. Sorry, I was late. Apologize. Admit it's your fault. That's the first thing. Second one is always reply your messengers. Always reply your messengers. Okay, those people who are saying yes very loudly probably have too many people who is blue taking them. Okay? So if you cannot get to it immediately, you cannot get to the message immediately because you're busy, tell the person you will do it later. Even if you don't feel like talking, okay, you are having a really bad day, you're not in the best space or mind space to talk about something, tell the person that you will get to them. You can tell people. Don't leave people on red. All the youth, reply your messages. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3, where possible, make your gratitude personal. So, for example, say thank you, genuinely look the person in the eye and tell them. Don't just like, thanks, okay, or no reply. Okay, make it personal. Thank you. Makes a difference, right? Than just thanks. Okay, thanks. But if you are trying to really be sincere, say thank you. Next one. If you do borrow something, don't delay in returning it. And don't be careless. For example, when you're borrowing a book, right? If you say you're going to return in 1 week, do it. And use the book with care. Not come back with a torn page, coffee stain, Milo stain, your pet stains, your pet's paw on it. And if the book really, somehow went through some disaster, can't be helped, get a new one, replace it. Okay? When it comes to borrowing money, never get into the habit of borrowing money and owing people money frequently just because you're close to somebody. When you do borrow, be quick in returning them. The point is, be respectful and be considerate. Got it? Okay. Next one. Remember what's important to someone and honoring that. What I mean is that everybody has different needs, different pet peeves, different ways of feeling love, different ways of feeling unloved. Just because something is not important to you doesn't mean it's not important to the person. So for example, I have friends who really dislike wasting time. Whereas I can be good at wasting time. Our team can say we are really good at wasting time. Okay, but basically what I meant is I'm more flexible with time. Whereas my friend is more tighter with their time. So as their friend, I pay attention to that, to do my best to be on time for them, to respect, to turn in my work on time because they value that. Because I know that this is important to them. So respect, be considerate to others, especially to those who are close to you, and especially to people who are familiar with. Right? So I thought I should share with you about Regina, since she is my closest friend. So I've known Regina, we've known each other for pretty much half of my life. I just calculated, I was like, oh my goodness. Half of my life, she's my friend. So, but despite being so close and familiar with each other, right, she has always been so considerate and thoughtful. And we have been so polite. We are so polite with each other. So for example, okay, when we do travel together and we stay together in the same room, right? The moment we enter a room, we have this habit of we will still let each other choose which side of the bed they want best, which side of the room they love it, they should take it. And we will ask each other a ton of questions like, do you need this table for your staff? And be considerate to one another. We will ask like, is the aircon too warm for you, too cold for you? Do you need an extra pillow here? Do you need an extra towel there? We make sure that the toilet, the common space are clean for each other if we use it, okay? We will never place our stuff, I think from my memory, okay, I may be wrong. So we never place our stuff on each other's bed. We will never like jump on each other's bed just because we share the same room. And because it is out of respect and consideration to the person and their space. So she will still say, please, sorry, thank you, in person, in private. So there was one time I really remember I lent her a shirt or something, and it came back to me washed, ironed, folded neatly, put it in a nice bag. I can't even remember it was a Ziploc bag. Like, wow, it's just a t-shirt, okay? But because it's my stuff, so she feel the need to be respectful and be considerate. She will never borrow money, or if I happen to pay first, right? She always insists on transferring the money right away. So I remember one time I told her, say, hey, it's okay, like we can get to it because we are out together. We can get to it after this, you can do that after that, like when the whole day ends. But she insists and she tells me, no, let me finish the transferring and everything first because I don't want to forget about it. It is important. So all these little gestures, right, are respect, love, and consideration. So they may be small gestures, but small things can send big signals about what you care about, who you care about. Do you really appreciate people? So Regina has also always remembered what's important to me and always honor that. And she always asks if there's anything she can do to support me better as a friend or to be a better friend. So I always find it so hilarious. This is so funny to me. It may not be funny to you. But I find it hilarious that whenever she sends me a cat sticker or some cat pictures randomly, because I know that she is not a cat person at all. Okay, so not to offend all our cat lovers here, Regina has absolutely no sentiments to cats. You know, some people will say like, yeah, I think cats are cute, like, 20%. For her, it's like not really at all. So that's why I find it very funny, right, or ridiculous when she suggests to go to cat cafe, for example. Like, say, why don't we go cat cafe to hang out? I was like, cat cafe? You want to go to a cat cafe? Yeah, because you don't like cats, right? So maybe what's most powerful for me is after one gathering where I preached, I think it was 1 year or 2 years ago, she texted and she told me in person, I can't remember text or told me in person that the message really spoke to her. And she thanked me for the message. So for me in that moment, I was, wow, because she is my friend, she has seen my bad days, she knows me very well, but yet she's also the same person who sees the best in me and gives me a ton of respect for who I am and what I do. So thank you, friend. Yes. So your zone is blessed to have you as their leader. Okay? So that's the second point. Third point, how can I connect with others better? You're okay? Third point is you got to fight well. You got to fight well. So I laugh because this phrase in itself, right, sounds paradoxical, correct? Fighting well. How can you link these two things together? If we fight means it's not well. How can it be well, right? Okay, but let me tell you, it is interesting how relationships and friendships can end because there are too many fights. Too many quarreling, too much bad fights. But it's also equally interesting how relationships can end because there isn't any fight at all. Friends or partners are so indifferent to each other to the point where they don't care to fight with or care to fight for one another anymore. And that's how relationships end. So Dr. John Gottman, a researcher who studied thousands of couples over 20 years, he came up with 4 horsemen which outlines 4 unhealthy ways that couples fight and quarrel. And with this, right, he could predict the end of marriages with over 90% accuracy. Wow. So I thought this is a helpful framework, not just for married couples, but also for friendships, relationships, for all of us here. That if you know these 4 things to avoid, you have a great chance at having great relationships. So what are the 4 horsemen, the 4 things that you got to avoid, and 4 areas that we can do better? Number 1 is criticism. Criticizing someone is different from offering a critique or a complaint. So it's important, okay, let me say this again. It's important to differentiate the two. Criticism is different from offering a critique or a complaint. So let me give you an example. So criticism sounds like this. You never think about how your behavior is affecting other people. I don't believe that you are that forgetful. You are just horribly, horribly selfish. You never think of other people. You never think of me. That's criticism. A complaint sounds like this. I was scared when you were running late and you didn't tell me. I thought we already agreed that we need to do this for each other. So a complaint is focused on the issue and how the actions are making you feel. But a criticism is an attack on the person's character. Okay, another example. Criticism. You always talk about yourself. You always behave like this. Why are you always so selfish? Okay, criticism. Complaint is, I am feeling very left out tonight. I need to vent. I'm having a bad day. Can we please talk about my day? So I'm not saying that you cannot point out a character flaw truthfully to one another. Let me be clear. You can, and in our lives, we should always have someone we trust to tell us the truth, to sometimes call us out. Hey, you're behaving badly, right? And in those moments, we need to learn to don't be fragile and learn to accept forms of corrections. But the difference is you cannot criticize your friend, your partner, your teammate, your spouse, your leader, your IC every single time. Every single fight, every single quarrel, you are criticizing. That is not okay. You cannot take a superior position and character assassinate them all the time, is what I mean. And a lot of times people do that, we criticize because we can't tell people how we feel. We can't tell people what's really hurting us. So we can't tell people, say, I feel hurt by what you say. So we will in reverse, right? We will say, you are so hurtful, you are so this and that. Okay. So in fights and quarrels, start with I feel. I feel this way. And lead that statement into I need you to dash. I need you to do this, and I need you to do that. So raise your complaints. Get angry. It's okay to get angry. Get upset. Be sad. That's all okay. That's fine. Got it? So that's the first one. Second one is contempt. Contempt. So we talked about this earlier on. Contempt is disrespect. So when we communicate with contempt, we are being mean. We treat other people with disrespect. We mock them with sarcasm. We ridicule them, call them names, mimic, use body language such as eye rolling, scoffing. And the whole point we are doing that is to make the other person feel despised and not worthy. So for example, okay, I'm going to try because it sounds very harsh. So for example, you're tired? You cry me a river lah. I have been with the kids all day long, running around to keep the house going, and all you do, you come home from work is to flop down on the sofa like a child and play those, idiotic games. I don't have time to deal with another baby, okay? Could you be any more pathetic? This is mean, all right? Another example. You forget to load the dishwasher again? Huh? Ah, you're so lazy. I can't deal with you. And roll your eye. I can't roll my eye. Okay? So a better way to say it would be, hey, I understand you've been very busy, but can you please remember to load the dishwasher when I work late? You promised that. I would really appreciate it. So contempt is worse than criticism because it assumes a position of moral superiority over somebody. If you are doing this to your friend, to your partners, to your parents, to your team leader, please change. You have to avoid contempt because research shows that this is the single greatest predictor of divorce and separation of relationships. So the antidote to contempt, the cure to contempt, I wouldn't say it's a cure, but the antidote to contempt is to please come down from your high horse. Please have more understanding. The way to keep your relationships in the green is to have a culture of appreciation, a culture of respect, a culture of remembering the good that someone has, even in the midst of conflict. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 is defensiveness. So this is typically a response to criticism. And we've all been defensive before. And this horseman is almost always present when relationships and friendships are on the rocks. So if you notice this, like, okay, maybe your friendship is really on the rocks. When one party is always defending themselves, both parties always defending themselves. So when we feel unjustly accused, what we do is we fish for excuses or we play the innocent victim so that the person will back off. It's an act of defensiveness. Unfortunately, this strategy is almost never successful. Our excuses just tells the other person that we don't take their concerns seriously. And we won't take any responsibilities for our part or our mistakes. So for example, this 2-person, right? A question is, did you call Betty and James to let them know that we are not coming tonight? You promised in the morning, you do it. A defensive response would be, I was just too busy. And as a matter of fact, you know I was busy, right? You know I have a busy schedule. Why didn't you just do it? That's a defensive response. So the person not only responds defensively, but they reverse blame in an attempt to make it the other person's fault now. I'm busy, you can't see I'm busy, you didn't even help me. So what is a non-defensive response? A better response will be to say, whoops, I forgot. I should have asked you this morning to do it because I know my day is going to be really packed. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Let me call them right now. So a non-defensive response is acceptance of responsibility, admitting your fault, and understanding the person's frustration. Okay, but that said, I know that conflicts can be messy, right? Where it is never just, sometimes, never just one person's fault. Not so clear-cut. Maybe both parties are at fault to some degree. In that case, you can still take responsibility for your part, but express how you feel. Means, for this part that you're saying, I understand, I'm sorry about this. But if the other things is the other person's responsibility, you don't have to take responsibility for that. In a way, you kind of come to a point where you make compromises. But you assume the responsibility that is your part. Got it? This is the 3rd thing. Number 4 is stonewalling. So it happens when the listener withdraws from the interaction, shuts down, and simply stops responding to the other person anymore. So rather than confronting the issue with one another, people who stonewall, they just basically turn into a wall. They turn away, they turn into a wall. They are not listening anymore, not speaking. They're acting busy, they're engaging in other things. So instead of a fight mode, this person is going into a flight mode, like they're running away. So if you feel like you are stonewalling during a conflict with a friend, what you should do is stop the discussion, ask the person to take a break, set a time frame, and come back to it after. And in the time frame, what you should do is do something alone that soothes you. For example, go take a walk by yourself. Read a book. Go for a run. Anything that takes your mind out of the overwhelming feeling that you are feeling. So in one studies, they did an experiment while counseling couples, right? After 15 minutes of like heated argument, where the person's already yelling at each other, what they will do is they'll interrupt the couple and tell them, say, they need to adjust some equipment in the room. I know it's a bit awkward. They're like yelling, like, you never do this, you do. Okay, and then the person's like, I'm sorry, we have some problem with the aircon, some problem with the sound. We need you to stop some shouting. And then what they will do is they'll ask them to read magazines quietly by themselves for half an hour while they pretend to try to fix the problem in the room. And surprisingly, after that, they found that after the break, the interaction or the quarrel was more productive, was more rational, and more respectful. So what I want to encourage everybody is, just because there are differences, quarrels, and conflicts, doesn't make a friendship or relationship bad. And it's also easy to walk away and give up when differences happen. It's easy to go, I'm overwhelmed, I cannot deal, I'm going to quit, and then walk away. But you got to learn to fight well, is what I'm saying. So are your feelings valid in the moment? You feel very overwhelmed by the quarrel and everything? Yes. But there are friendships, there are relationships in your life that are worth fighting for. There are personal issues, personal struggles that's worth fighting for, worth working through. So shutting down, giving up is not going to solve the problem. So rather than just stonewall, give up, because this is what most people do. They will just turn into a wall and end it right here and now and will never speak again. But rather than doing that, learn to fight well. Learn to go, okay, I think maybe we need a break, but we will promise we will come back to this together because you're committed to one another. So what I want you to know is I don't want you to just walk away from relationship whenever it's very like, there's a fight going on. But learn to fight well, learn to fight for good friendships, fight for each other, fight for one another, fight for people. So I have a summarized table of what we went through. So hopefully if you didn't manage to get it down, you can capture this and then save it. Got it? So the amazing thing about Jesus is that he is always fighting for us. He's always taking the first step towards you and I. I mean, even the story of the woman at the well, right? Jesus is taking the first step towards her. So the story about the woman at the well tells you that Jesus is greater than any geography divide, any race, religion, sexual orientation, any walls, any barriers. We are never too far away from God. We're never too alone and too lonely. And in the same way, I want to encourage you that connecting with people is never too difficult. It's never too impossible. Having great relationships, great friendships, great connections with people is not too impossible. And I want to encourage us to listen better, to appreciate people, to learn to fight well, and to learn to fight for each other.